Hi everybody. We've got Jan Teesdale here today, so we've got the pleasure of having a little chat with her. So Jan Teesdale is the Netball Waikato player of Plenty Umpire Development Officer, and she has a pretty extensive background in umpiring. She's umpired at World Cups and been awarded international umpire awards, and she's also being the head of the National Umpire Squad. Good morning, Jan.
Good morning. How are you, Jamie? And thank you for this. This is a real pleasure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. I'm glad you let us have a bit of your time in your busy schedule. So we'll just go through a few questions with you so everyone gets to know your background. So like I said, you've had a pretty extensive background in umpiring. Do you want to tell us a bit about your journey and how it started?
Well, I think like a lot of umpires, my journey started actually playing.
Yeah.
I didn't go straight into umpiring, but I was one of these people that did tennis in the summer and spent most of my days travelling in from Ohaupo, where we lived on a farm, by bus going into the tennis courts. And then in winter, I would go to the netball courts, which at that time were in Sillery Street over at Cobham Drive. And I would spend my day there.
Yeah.
So that probably ages me a little bit. So I did everything. I obviously started playing. I didn't start playing until I was actually at high school. Because we lived on a farm, my parents found it difficult to run us to practices and trainings while we were at primary school. So I didn't start, I obviously played at school and just mucked around.
Yeah.
But I didn't start playing till I went to high school, and I went to Melville High School.
Very local.
Yes, very local. I haven't moved too far from the tree. And I really loved, I had a great coach there. She was actually the Waikato captain at that stage, Raywin Harrison, and she taught at the school. And she was a defence player, and she turned me into a defence player.
Yeah.
And I used to spend all my days down at Sillery Street. I did everything from playing, umpiring, coaching, in the tower, anything. So, yeah, so I did start umpiring while I was playing. And when I got to sitting my New Zealand badge, I kind of then had to make some decisions about whether I wanted to carry on with coaching or with umpiring. And I think when I did get my New Zealand badge, that decision kind of was made for me that I would go down the umpiring pathway.
Yeah.
So was very lucky, had some great mentors in the Waikato and Taylor, Ona Coatsworth, to name just a couple. And loved the camaraderie with the other umpires. People think umpiring is sort of a lonely task, but in fact, it's just like being in a team. We call them Team White. Love going to New Zealand tournaments. And as you said, went to World Champs in Sydney back in 1991. Oh my gosh, that was a big surprise when I got appointed. And in those days, countries took their own umpire. So and it was the first time in 1991 that all the umpires stayed together rather than with their teams. And for some countries' umpires, they found that really difficult. There were some very, very strong umpires. I'm not talking about their strength of skill. I'm talking about their personality. Yeah, and some of the countries' umpires found that really difficult because they really needed the support of their country's people around. But it was a good thing because it did mean that we were neutral, and we should always be neutral. I did play to a reasonable level too, and I probably didn't take the opportunities that I probably should have when I was playing. And I decided that should I be given the same sort of opportunities in umpiring, that I would not leave any stone unturned. So that's probably my learning there. Yeah, I probably, as a player, had a lot of a natural ability, but probably didn't work hard enough.
Yeah, so a few players are like that. They have lots of natural ability, but don't have that I guess, what do you call it, like really wanting to push a little bit further, eh?
Yeah, and it's got to come within them. They've got to be given some ideas that they could be better than they are if they worked harder, but that will has got to come from within them. Yeah, and I love when you hear top players like Laura Langman say that even in the pandemic they are training hard because they think if their competition is training hard, then they need to train harder.
Yeah. And she looks like she's training hard, which is awesome.
Oh, does she?
I've been watching some of her NetFit programs. I'm just like, wow, she's
that'd be a great thing for umpires too, because I know that sometimes you can get a little bit stale doing the same things in your bubble.
Yeah, awesome. So you played so you played tennis as well. Did you play any other sports growing up, or?
Yes, I did. I mean, at primary school, we played all sorts of sports, bull rush, all sorts of things. But sort of the known sports, I played volleyball at training college. And I can remember going by train to Wellington to the national competition one year. So I liked team sports. I did athletics as well. My father was a very good athlete in the throwing and the jumping, and I seemed to excel at those too. But I tended to enjoy the team sports more.
Yeah, a lot of people I'm talking to, I feel like heaps of people have played many sports over their time, and then kind of just picked out the few that they enjoyed the most and stuck with those ones.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's from my era or whether it's country school life where you don't have the same number of people, so everybody plays everything to make up the numbers, and you play it on the school fields and on the courts at lunchtime.
Yeah, cool. So what in your role as umpire development officer, what does that entail, and what do you do?
Right, well, I'm the umpire lead for our zone, and each of these zones have an umpire lead, and our job is to lead within our zone group. So I have two staff, Kim Higgy and Hikatea Gallagher, who are umpire development officers who under their funding deliver the ITU, the Introduction to Umpiring in Schools. Hikatea on the Bay and Kim on the Waikato side, and we're branching out a little bit this year, or we were before lockdown, into youth as well as school students, so through clubs and through centres. And my job in leading too is to lead alongside the centres. Each of the centres know what their needs are, and I want to assure that I can help them to be better than they were before. It's not me coming in to tell them they must do this and they must do that, because every centre has their own needs. I'm also work really closely with Garrett at Netball New Zealand, as the other zone leads do. And so we do have some KPIs from Netball New Zealand, things like how many zone awards are we going to get in 2020? Well, probably not very many.
That'll be interesting.
And assist in delivering with the umpiring modules and the coach assessor workshops. So I kind of feel like I'm a link between what Netball New Zealand would like umpires in the communities to do and what the centres would like their umpires to do. So there's a certain amount of business as usual, umpiring awards, but there's also an ability for the zone and the centres to think of their own initiatives that can support the development of umpires.
It's quite I've really enjoyed working with the umpires. It's huge, like it's a really huge, like what we have to do in that space, and try and keep everyone engaged in that space.
I think that a lot of people out there don't realise, they think that umpiring is just about reading the rule book, sitting some theory exams and maybe doing a practical assessment. But the coaching of umpires and the mentoring of umpires is actually huge now. It's all about athlete-centred learning, isn't it?
Like everything else. So what are your thoughts on like the lockdown and COVID-19 and how it's impacting us in netball, umpiring, pretty much everything sport?
Well, I can't really remember any other situations like this that has affected every country in the world.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not old enough to have been around in the wartime, but my mother-in-law, who's 98, says, I can do this lockdown because it's just like being in wartime.
yeah,
But I think it's worse because it is about our health as well.
yeah,
So I think it was a huge shock to people, and we probably didn't take it as seriously because we thought, oh, well, it happens to China, it happens to Italy. But when people were coming back from overseas and having to be quarantined and it was being transmitted, it was actually a big wake-up call. And I think the country has really, really embraced the lockdown. Yes, there's always going to be some people that try to burst out of their bubble.
yeah,
But there has been a big impact on sport, big impact on sport. The health and fitness, I think that people have got quite creative, and businesses have got quite creative about online learning for people's health and fitness, and you can do it in your home, or you can get out and walk the streets. And we're so lucky to be at the beach. I just went for a walk along the beach this
Oh,
morning.
nice.
I have to say, Jamie, it is a stunning day here in the Bay.
Oh, is
We are
it? Well,
so lucky.
here in the Waikato, it's all gloomy and we got
Oh,
fog.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah. But team sports and organised sports and competitive sports have taken a huge hit.
Yeah, it's
But
quite
my
sad.
feeling is, yeah, it's very scary. But my thoughts are that sport is part of New Zealand's DNA.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
It is who we are. And while we may not get back to the sport as we know it, ever, it gives us an opportunity to actually have a look at how we can do things a little bit differently.
yeah,
And I
yeah. I
know
think
that you guys
yeah,
at Hamilton City and other centres are actually really looking at if there is going to be some netball at some stage this year, how can you do that? Because I think people will want to get back in and just connect with each other. Most of our people don't do it to win. Most of our people in our centres, and you can confirm this or not, do it for the enjoyment and the camaraderie.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's like for us a lot of learnings and this online. I know you do a lot of Zoom and online because you work from home, but us we don't do anything online. Like it's always been face to face. So it's a huge learning that we could probably come out of this and do a lot more online and work in different.
Yes, a number of us had a meeting with Sport Waikato. They've been really supportive in just seeing what sports might need, and the comment was made that actually I don't do a lot of Zoom from home prior to lockdown. You would get in your car and you would travel 2 hours to run a 1.5 hour
like we would have a meeting face to face. You'd come all the way over.
And while I really enjoy that, and that is important, there will be times I think going forward that we have learnt a new way of doing things that's going to be more time efficient.
Definitely, yeah. Save money, save time. So it will be good. So your whole life has pretty much been netball. So what do you have any interests outside of netball?
Yes, I do. And I'm lucky in that my husband, he's very, very supportive, but wasn't involved in netball, and he didn't play a weekend sport. Netball was a weekend sport back in the day. He played badminton, and so that tended to be during the week. So he was very supportive with looking after the kids. I love to read. Probably fiction is my thing. A bit of history, a bit of murder, whodunit sort of things. I used to do a lot of crafts, as in knitting and sewing. I don't do that so much anymore. But I love to cook and bake, and I've done a bit of that during this lockdown. Been through a few recipes, learned how to make Chelsea Winter's beer bread without any yeast.
Oh, I heard of that.
Stunning, stunning. I didn't use beer, I used kombucha.
Yeah.
And I now have added a little bit of bran to the mix and topped it with some nuts and seeds rather than the cheese. So yeah, getting quite
Yummy.
creative.
Yeah.
I love to walk. Both Graham and I joined a gym about 18 months ago, so missing that a little bit.
Yes, yeah, me too.
Yeah, but family is really important to us, and while we don't see them all the time, keeping in contact. As I said, my husband's mother, who's 98, is doing it a bit hard in Hamilton, but she still lives on her own.
Oh, does she?
Yes, hopefully when we get to level 3, we may be able to let her join our bubble.
Yeah.
Because she's in her own bubble over in Hamilton. So we're
Oh,
missing
okay.
not seeing her, and she doesn't have a computer and doesn't have a phone, so we can't
Oh,
FaceTime.
no. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
she's from the days where we didn't need those types of things, so I'm sure she'll be fine.
Yeah, she will be fine, but I think, the longer it goes on, just missing that personal contact. So we think under level 3, we might be able to, we'll just look into that, get her over here to join in our bubble. Yeah.
Yeah. So how many people in your bubble? Is it just you and your husband?
Just Graham and I, yes. Yeah. Yep. We're very lucky where we are. The supermarket is just a 200-metre walk down the road. And the doctor's about a 400, 500-metre walk around the corner. The beach is about 300 metres, so we don't have to get in our car and go anywhere like some other people might have to do. My sister lives in Pukeatu, which is down Arapuni way, and she hasn't been out since the lockdown. So yeah, but she's finding lots of things to do. I'm okay with it. Over the weekend, I got a little bored at a couple of times, but I think it was just a mental state. So I just had to talk to myself and said, it's okay not to have anything to do. Pick up a book.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I've had heaps of up and down moments, and it's just reminding yourself kind of, it's okay. It's not the end of the world yet.
Yes.
So we'll probably wrap it up there. But before we go, do you have any tips for our community to keep healthy, active, and I guess keep engaged with our sport?
Well, I think, anytime anyone connects with them, just reach out. I got quite excited. I had a number of umpire coaches when I emailed out the link to register for the coach assessor workshops. We're going to start doing some of those.
Yeah.
And some of the emails that I got back was, wow, it's so nice to hear from you. Really missed connecting. So I've done a little bit of connecting with some centres one-on-one just to see how they are in their bubble. And I've had more response from that. So I think, pick up the phone, use all of the WhatsApp and Messenger, just connect with people that you haven't connected with for in a long time and listen to them. Don't make any judgment about how they're feeling. Just have a listen. I think Netball Smart, I see that there's a new platform up on the Netball New Zealand. It's coming out of the newsletter late for this week. Go on there and have a look. For the umpires and the players, there's some great activities in there that if they are getting a little bit bored with what they're doing, get some new ideas. One of the things that this lockdown may give people the opportunity to do is to look at any goals that they might have, whether it be in sport or in their personal lives. And there's a model called the GROW model. That they could look up and go through a little bit of a plan. So the G stands for the goal, the R stands for what is their current reality. Yeah. So that you then decide, this is my goal, this is where I am at the moment. And then the O stands for what opportunities, what options are there for you to move your reality towards your goal. And then plan out your way forward. So that might be a good little activity for people to do. I am also looking at getting a virtual yo-yo up and running for people to be able to test themselves against, so that we don't fall out of bad habits or into bad habits. Because fitness is a big part of who you are as an umpire, but also it's really important for your mental health.
Yeah, yeah. Even the that Bronco test that people were doing, the like 5 times 20, 10, 20, 30. If you just keep doing that, that would help with the yo-yo as well, wouldn't it?
Brilliant, Jamie. Yes, the Bronco seems to be one of the new tests for a lot of the players.
Yeah.
And you only need a driveway or street. Some of the streets aren't very busy at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, there's heaps of ways out there, isn't there? We just need to keep engaging with each other and keep each other company and happy. And
yeah, I think we probably all have done a lot more talking just on a personal level in the last 4 weeks than we might have done previously. It was all work related, or I've got to get things done, but I found myself reaching out to people that maybe I was talking to once a month and now it's once a week.
Yeah.
Just making sure that everybody's okay.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you. There's some awesome tips there, Jan. I'll try and do some of those myself. I like the grow one. I haven't actually heard of that one. I've heard of the smart goals, but I haven't heard of the grow one.
Very similar.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ones out there. It's just something that we're using in umpiring at the moment, but there are lots of different ones.
Yeah, I'll look that up. Thank you. But yeah, thank you very much for your time. I've really enjoyed talking to you and seeing what you're up to. But yeah, we'll probably
Thank you, Jamie. And I just want to wish you and Hamilton City all the best as we move through this level 4 into level 3, and hopefully it's not going to be too much longer before we get some real netball. That'd be fantastic. I look forward to seeing you in person. So take care.
Me too. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Jamie. Cheers.
Bye.